it is at the top of things that have ever happened to me or to this band to even be given the opportunity to headline Wembley. And we played there once with Steel Panther, and it was such a fantastic night. But we're gonna go in there and absolutely just knock the roof off that place.
Let's start with the fact that very, very soon you will be back in the UK. It's very exciting. I guess the first impression is the fact that these are some big old shows, man. This is going to be your biggest ever headliner of one of these, right? I mean, that's alone has got to be unbelievably exciting thing to look forward to.
It's the craziest thing in the world right now because we were just over there in February last year and did our biggest ever headline tour, our biggest ever headline show, sorry, in Cardiff. And then the plan was to come back over and do a small little Christmas tour this past December. Well, as we were doing the Hangover You Don't Deserve 20th anniversary tour, just the demand was just there. People were just like, "Hey, we want this in the UK. We want it in the UK." And it's like the only way we can make this make sense is to move it up a little bit and come over there in February and just freaking do it. And so I'm glad we made that decision. It will be the biggest tour we've ever done as far as venues are concerned. And I just can't say enough about the loyalty of the UK fans and the relationship that Bowling for Soup and the UK have. I would say that it boggles my mind, but I guess it doesn't now because it's been 25 years of, just overwhelming support. And, I think the love goes both ways, and I think we both know it.
I think that's the really interesting thing here. There seems to be multiple things that have happened at the same time for you guys in the last couple of years. Because you're absolutely right. There's a dedicated audience who have stuck with you. You guys have always been able to come over here, play shows. You know that crowd's going to turn out. At the same time, like with a lot of bands of your initial era, these new audiences are coming through, which is fascinating. And they're finding you through streaming services. They're finding you through social media. You guys are obviously very, very active and on it with that, which is great. And that develops the new audiences. But also, I think it's just kind of a testament to your longevity and to that live reputation, man. Like it's a well-earned position to be hitting at this point in your career because I know it's been a long road for you guys, but it's not surprising to me to see you still picking up audiences and still getting people to come check out this show after this long because it's a good show, right? I mean, it's like I say, it's just got to feel nice to know that right now, for whatever reason, it's a perfect storm. Things seem to be firing on all cylinders for you guys.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. And our live show is something that we've prided ourselves on literally since the first day. We knew that we were tight and we knew that we could sing and but most of all, we just knew that our show was fun.
Hmm.
And honestly, the measure of that is that we still enjoy it and we still make each other laugh. And but yes, that it never gets old hearing that, and I appreciate it so much. Yeah, and the perfect storm, I think, really does is a good description of it because I think there's a nostalgic aspect of it too. I think for the fans who were around back in the early 2000s, and following the whole pop punk thing, it's just a avalanche right now of 20th anniversary albums. Simple Plan, Newfound Glory, Sum 41 are doing a farewell tour. Blink 182 got back together. Story of the Year and Yellow Card, both 20th anniversary albums. Less Than Jake, 20th anniversary of them. So there's so much happening, and you're right, with the access to the music and playlists and things like that, we're also developing a new audience. Social media obviously is a thing. Phineas and Ferb is back. It's
Always good.
just there's so many things just going in our favor right now as far as helping us spread the word and reminding people. I think I think people might think that it would hurt my feelings or sort of rub me a little wrong to be on, say, let's just use TikTok for example, and someone discovers me on there, and when they say, "Oh, I used to listen to that band all the time," or "Oh my God, I listened to them in 2002. I feel old," and it doesn't really bother me. I like reminding you of things, and to be honest, as a music fan, I forget about bands, like there's bands that I listen to and I'll be like, oh man, I haven't listened to, this just happened to me. I was like, there was this band called Artist versus Poet around, back in those days. And And I was like, oh my God, that first record and second record are so good. And I just hadn't listened to it in a while. So if anything, I enjoy being the reminder of it all, and I'm just glad people are still open to it. And you know, the other thing is the other thing that adds to that perfect storm is too, and this is social media related, is just 1985, all of the parodies out there, and then this album that we're touring on turning 20, and our 30th birthday as a band being in the same year, just a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. No, it's perfect time for a moment like this and a tour like this. And I'm glad you mentioned, obviously, yeah, it's celebrating the anniversary of Hangover You Don't Deserve. I always ask this question when people do these kind of albums in full shows. We all know there's certain songs in there that have never left the set list, rightly so, because they're, big hits, big moments. What
Right.
were the moments you had to brush up on a little bit? There must have been, even when you played all these songs before, there must be moments when you're prepping for the tour where you're like, wait, what was that lyric again? Wait, how did that bit go?
James, more than you know. Uh, that is I was in a place back then where I was very much going against the 10 and 11 a song album. They were that, there was this whole thing with the downloading and the file sharing where people were like, we're not getting our money's worth or whatever. So I was kind of going against what the label wanted me to do, and I was putting out long records. This is an 18 song album, right? And to me, I think it's a great compilation of songs, and I don't feel like that I just shit out anything. I loved every song but one, and that's a part of this story. So to be fair, about half of the songs, 8 or 9 of them, we either knew or had played, and then there's another half of the songs that we had never played, and in fact hadn't played together since we recorded the album
Wow.
21 years ago.
Wow, wow, wow.
And so we not only were having to relearn the lyrics, but relearn the guitar parts and the drum and the changes and all of this stuff. And what's crazy about songwriting is I feel like you sort of do things and then you move on to other things. And even though our band sounds the same, I don't really do things the same way because I'm progressing as a musician and as a songwriter or whatever. And so like there's some things where we'll be sitting there playing. I'm like, why did I do this? Like this is so weird. um, but yeah, we got into the practice place, and first practice was really, really awful. So what we did was we divided them up into 3 songs, and I think we did 4 rehearsals. So we did 3 each time, and then we did one where we played the whole set, and it worked out. It worked out. But so back to the song so I hated the song Next Ex-Girlfriend. I always hated it. I just it's not I liked it when it was written, and it made the album for a reason. The guys really liked it, but our A&R person at the time really liked it. And man, that song over the course of 4 months of touring on it has just, I love it so much now,
Oh,
man. We
great.
play it and it is, and the audience loves it, and it's just got this cool and it's just such a cool intro, and so that's an interesting thing about like not having any sort of relationship with a song for 20 years, and you think, oh, and then we start playing it and I'm just like, this song is actually really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the joy of playing an album in full, isn't it? Because you're going to suddenly discover for the first time that a song you may not even thought about in a long time will be somebody in that crowd's favorite song. Because it's just
One,
inevitable, isn't it? They're coming to watch that record. They will
yeah.
have their own memories and their own stories behind it, which is just lovely to see.
Yeah, you're so right. And what's funny is that along the way, across the 20 years, you have people, messaging or holding up signs or saying something to you in the meet and greet, or when you meet them in the coffee shop and they say things like, "Hey man, will you play Next Ex Girlfriend tonight?" And you're like, "No." Like I would never say it like that. But in my head, I'm like, "No." But to them, I'm like, I don't know. Um, and so but seriously though, there are people, the hardcore fans want the deeper cuts. And
Yes.
I think an album tour like this, and especially the way that we're doing it, where this album is so front loaded with singles. And then there's just this whole back half of the record that is pretty much going to be just for like big fans of the band. And then we come back after we've played the album and do songs that everybody in the audience knows. So, it's a good balance and it's a fun night. And I was never really a big proponent of Bowling for Soup doing an album tour. We did it in the UK one time. We did
Mm.
Drunk Enough to Dance, I think back in 2017, I think, maybe 15th anniversary. Um, and that actually is available, by the way, to all of you guys. It's called Live at Brixton.
There we
No,
go.
older, fatter, still the greatest ever. Live at Brixton.
There we are. Full title.
Um, but yeah, and that was fun, but we had never really done one in the United States and taken it, to back to UK and then thought about doing it in Japan, and you know what I mean? And so this one has been really fun. I don't know if I'll ever do another one.
Mm. Fair enough. It's
Yeah,
an interesting exercise, I think, for a lot of bands. And again, this is something I always find interesting is, when it's a band that's obviously still very active like yourselves, looking back, has that affected how you want to move forward? Like, if you, because obviously, I guess you'll go back into that headspace a little bit. You're a different person from who you were back then. It's a
yeah.
different, a different moment in time. But getting back in that headspace and remembering what it was like to write and play those songs, has that sparked anything for where you want to go next?
Yeah, writing wise, it's been really interesting. That's a really good question, by the way. Because you're so right. Um, from a writing standpoint, each album, and especially when you go back and play the songs, like I can go back and listen to one of the records or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, but when I sit there and play them, you get my mind goes back to what was going on in my life at the time. It goes back to where I was experience wise in both writing and playing. Because I'm a self-taught musician who started this band 2 years after I picked up my first guitar. Um, Now, I was a drummer all my life, but as far as, writing songs and playing guitar, I just would just, hey, somebody's got to do this. So I just picked up a guitar and started doing it. And, so obviously I've gotten better at all of it, through the years. And just being able to sort of play whatever I want on guitar, it made writing a lot easier, but also I think I sort of like made things sometimes a little bit more complex than I would have back in the day. So not that a Bowling for Soup song is complex in any way, but I just mean as far as like I was very straightforward back. Drunk Enough to Dance is just it is four chords and the truth, and I think that's a lot of the reason why people love it so much. Um, but I tried to kind of go back to that vibe on Pop Drunk Snot Bread. I really wanted to get back to that. Hey man, I want it to sound like two guitars, bass and drums, and us just singing our asses off. And I think we did a good job doing that. But you're so right when you go back and explore these songs from, that were written in 2003, 2004, whatever. uh, it's that's 20 years ago. Like obviously because we're celebrating 20 years of the album. I was a completely different human being. And I think this when I get into those songs, I'm just like, wow, it's weird. What were you thinking about here? And it's a cool exercise. I
Yeah.
think maybe everybody should do it, that write songs. Like maybe I should just go back. Well, I guess I did during COVID. I did a show online or two shows online for each album. So I went back and I learned songs from each album, but I couldn't do the whole thing. Maybe I need to do that.
Hmm. Good exercise. Definitely a good
Yeah.
exercise to kind of get the brain working and see
Yeah.
where you're at and how far you've come. No, it's definitely an interesting exercise for sure. A couple other things I want to mention that you've been up to of late. We've got to talk about the Disney cover, man, because I
Yeah.
loved that album. I thought it was such a smart idea. I've talked to a number of artists who are involved with it. You, as ever, putting a very original, clever take on one of these covers. It's like when I talked to you about the Busted thing. They were delighted with what you did with that. I think it's a similar vibe here. It was very, very clever, very, very cool. But just tell me about the process of doing that. And I guess, was that always, I know people picked from like a long list, right? Was that always like, it has to be that song for us, it has to be a friend like me?
So the thing was about the Disney thing is, and the reason why it's brilliant is because there were bands like us and Newfound Glory and, a few others that were doing these covers anyway. One of our best streaming songs is Bare Necessities, which we
Yeah.
did for the Disney thing. I mean, gosh, 2006 or seven, maybe I don't know, a long, long time ago. And it's done great streaming for us. And obviously Newfound Glory are the pop punk cover kings. And I don't hand that title over lightly, by the way, because I think we're pretty good at it, but we're not in their league. Um, but yeah, a lot of the songs have been taken. I think they sort of went to a few bands first. I think Disney has a really good relationship with Simple Plan. There's just, there's other bands. So some other bands had gotten to choose. I was just stoked that nobody had picked Friend Like Me. And when I thought about it, I was like, that's going to take a theater kid to be able to pull that off, and a band that isn't scared to do something freaking off the wall, just something crazy. And scared isn't the right word, but it's basically that's our song. That's we've got to do that. And yeah, I didn't even tell the band that I chose that song. I just one day me and Rob were in the I do a country band as well, and Rob is my bass player in that, and we're driving down the street and I go, "Oh yeah, um we're doing a cover of Friend Like Me, and I want it to go like this. Bow, bow, wow, wow, with like the Bowling for Soup octave chords or whatever." He goes, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea." And then we just kept driving. And so yeah, but I'm super happy that when it came out like that. I thought that it would go either way as far as like my performance on it. Because again, I'm doing a lot of the some of the same voices that Robin Williams did, and then some of my own stuff and whatever. So there's several ways that people could interpret it, but it's all been really, really positive, and I've gotten so much feedback from that, and very, very happy that we were a part of it. It's genius that Disney decided to do it, because again, a lot of us were doing those covers anyway. So the fact that they were able to go, "Hey, you know what, these bands are doing these songs and it's working, why don't we just put it out, do a big push on it, and like we just go get the bands and do it, and we give them some ownership of their version of it or whatever, and put it out." And they've marketed it so brilliantly,
Mm.
and all the songs are so good. Plain White Tees, Magnolia Park, their song is so good. And by the way, they are on this tour with Bowling for Soup and Wheatus in February in the UK. Simple Plan always deliver, Newfound Glory always deliver. So just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing collection. I hope that becomes a series. Fingers crossed, because it'd be worth it. It worked so well the first time. They got to keep it going. They really do.
I agree.
Very, very smart move. And another thing I want to pick your brain about really is that, of course, the news is out that Warped Tour is coming back, which we're all so, so excited about. Obviously, played a very significant role, not just for yourself, but like all the bands of that era and all the bands of this scene. Even ones who never got the chance to play it, they certainly went and looked up to it. These kind of new current crop of artists coming through. Just some reflections from you would be lovely. I mean, let's just talk about this. This feels important. It feels like the right time, in my opinion, for it to come back. And I think they're doing it in the right way as well, kind of mixing up how it works. But you must be excited, if nothing else. I know we can't talk lineups, blah blah blah. But like whether or not you are involved, hypothetically, I think just even the fact that it's back has got to be pretty exciting.
Just seeing that logo out on my computer screen makes me so happy. It's such a big part of my life. It's such a big part of, pop punk's life as a genre, the fans of pop punk and emo and screamo and and all of that. Kevin Lyman put together what I consider to be, boot camp for all of us bands, and it's a lot of us got our chops getting out there and doing it in the hot sun every day, and having to sell our own merch and having to be out there with the fans to try to get them to come see you on your stage. And we've certainly never shied away from work, so it absolutely, we fit the profile of the band that I feel like thrived in that whole situation, that whole scenario. And um every summer that we did it, we made such great friends. We made audience members that have stuck with us forever. And like I said, some of the best stories we have are from Warped Tour. And again, I agree with you. I think the way he's doing it is the way that Kevin can do it right now. I just think, we're all it was just so much work, for him to put a cross country tour on, and playing to this many people each day, and then having to pick all that stuff up and move it to the next city. And I can understand how you wouldn't want to do that right now, or again ever. And Warped Tour is nothing without Kevin Lyman. And so just the fact that he is doing it, and he's doing it the way that he's doing it, I'm excited about it. Whether we're on it or not, I'll be there. And I'm super stoked.
Yeah, really exciting times ahead. It's like really exciting times ahead for that. Before I let you go, I'm going to hold this last question, obviously, until it is announced. But let's talk Wembley, shall we? Because my
Yeah.
God, man, I mean, this is milestone bucket list stuff here, man. And again, as I said to you before, congrats on the longevity here and the live reputation and everything that's built. It feels like such a great moment for you guys with a mix of these older nostalgic fans, but also these new fans coming through who are discovering your albums for the first time and discovering that scene for the first time. What a lovely way to be able to finish this year. You must be just absolutely delighted and ready to go with this one.
James, I can't say that I have a bucket list because I feel like if I said that, I would almost be selfish in that because my dreams have come true. I've done everything anyone could ever expect to do. I have a beautiful family. I have amazing friends. I have great kids. My band is still together and playing, and it's been just a crazy few years, and there I am just over the moon. And but I will say that it is at the top of things that have ever happened to me or to this band to even be given the opportunity to headline Wembley. And we played there once with Steel Panther, and it was such a fantastic night. But we're gonna go in there and absolutely just knock the roof off that place. And there's so much build up to this because it's funny. It started being talked about a few years ago, where it was like, things are progressing in a way to where I think we could probably get to the point where you guys might be able to do Wembley. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's adorable. But then the talk of it kind of started again last year, and here we are. It's happening. And so I am just I feel so very lucky. I feel an amazing sense of accomplishment. I'm so proud of this band. I'm proud of, our team and the people who work behind it. And but most of all, I'm just so thankful to the fans. Not really just the UK. I mean, all over the world, because it's the fact that Bowling for Soup is just really kind of back on top everywhere, is what fuels this. And so I just am thankful to everybody who listens to us, and to the fans of the UK for even making this possible. But I discovered Punk Rock Factory during the pandemic, and I was just like, how is this band not insanely huge? And so I started reacting to all their videos, and I've just watched them, go from this band who was doing TikToks to playing small clubs or whatever, to now touring the US and Europe, and now headlining their own huge shows in the UK. And of course Wheatus are just so near and dear to us. And coming off of the US tour dates that they did, and the nostalgia of us touring back the first Get Happy tour Bowling for Soup did back in 2007. So happy to have them on this as well. And I just think it's going to be a fantastic night. I think it's going to be a triumphant night for the band, for the fans, and just I think it'll be something we'll never forget.